On the 141st episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast, we're going to be talking everything March Madness. The MLB season starts in just a couple of days. A crazy NBA fight. We're going to be ranking the top 5 biggest March Madness upsets. Make sure you use code HatTrick Sports when checking out at w.gg for 10% off your order. Roll it! Welcome to HatTrick Sports, starring your host, Isaiah Carpenter. Bringing you the biggest sports headlines every week. This is the HatTrick Sports Podcast. We are here filming episode 141 of the HatTrick Sports Podcast. A lot of sports has happened recently in this last week. First thing I want to address, we're going to be coming out with more short-form content. I try to get 2 pieces out every day. Definitely been slacking on that, so be on the lookout for some more short-form content. And make sure to follow if you have not already, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, even Facebook now. I think we don't have many followers on Facebook, but make sure to follow everywhere there. Again, trying to get 2 pieces of content out a day has not lived up to that expectations. But let's start off talking about the March Madness tournament. March Madness, we are in the literal middle of March Madness. 6 minutes left in this second round of March Madness. We have Miami playing Purdue up on the upper right TV right now. I have my bracket here because I want to talk about it. The first round of March Madness, I went 28 for 32. By far the best first round bracket I have ever filled out. The only game I lost was the Ohio State TCU game. I had Ohio State winning. The Wisconsin High Point game, I'm pretty sure most of America and the entire world had Wisconsin winning. The BYU Texas game, nobody expected to play in Texas to get the win. And we'll be talking more about Texas, but BYU ended up losing. And then Georgia and St. Louis, I thought Georgia was going to win. Those are the only 4 games I got wrong in the entire 32 game span of the first round. Now here in the second round, I'm not doing so hot either. I have 2 losses. I am 6-4-8, which I wanted to do better. It was Vandy and Nebraska. I had Vanderbilt winning. Nebraska ended up winning that game. And then in the same part of the bracket that I had BYU winning, Texas ended up beating Gonzaga, and I had Gonzaga winning there. So is Texas going to be the Cinderella this year? That's what it's starting to look like. So Texas first won the play-in game against NC State, then they beat BYU, and then they beat Gonzaga, and is now headed to the Sweet 16, where they will play the winner of Miami and Purdue, which it looks like it's going to be Purdue with 5 minutes left and Purdue up 11. It was a close game all game. This Purdue-Miami game, it's been close all game. But yeah, Texas, it looks like, is going to play Purdue. If Texas beats Purdue, they are the Cinderella of this tournament. A play-in, an 11 seed play-in, beating Purdue would be unbelievable. It was unbelievable when they beat Gonzaga, the 3 seed. I'm just saying, I know it's a little early, but Texas could be the Cinderella of this year. So yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit. My goal for every March Madness bracket is to not have the next round affected. So you know what I mean? So with Texas beating Gonzaga, I didn't have BYU winning that next round. So you know what I mean? So I don't want, when I'm filling this out, I don't want to have to put a purple or red highlighter through the next round. That is not my only goal. My goal is to get the most wins possible, but to do that, you can't have your next round affected by the current round if you lose. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's like a main goal of mine in this bracket, and that's succeeded so far. Every single win or loss every single loss has not affected the next round, which is good, which means gives me more opportunities for more points later down the line. But that being said, I have one bracket, and I don't know. people are mixed about this. Should you have one bracket or should you be able to make 25 brackets? Because I feel like morally, you should only have one bracket. This is my perfect March Madness bracket. I filled one out because at the beginning of the tournament, I was convinced that this is exactly what was going to happen. I thought I was going to go 63 for 63. Obviously, that didn't happen and that won't ever happen. But you have to be a man at some point. You know what I mean? You have to have one bracket that you can stand on, because the rest of these brackets that are still perfect, if there are still any perfect brackets, I know there's not any on CBS Sports. I don't think there are any more perfect brackets, but the ones that make it so far and have these crazy upsets and like you just have 25 brackets, you can't be like, I told you this, I told you that. Because no, you had 25 different scenarios. So I say you stick with one bracket, but I want you guys to comment to see, do you guys have one bracket or do you guys make 20 different brackets? Because I'm on one bracket. I got one bracket. Every single, I even have it down here on the March Madness app, on ESPN, on CBS Sports, on Yahoo Sports. I have the same exact bracket, but I know people that make it different, that have like 20 different brackets on ESPN, and I think that's morally unacceptable. And I think we have to do better as a society and stand on one bracket, the perfect bracket. You have to convince yourself that you made one perfect bracket. And I get it, you want upsets, but I don't know. I feel like one bracket is the way to go. Let's talk about Florida. I talked to some Florida fans just briefly a few days ago, and they were like, Florida's going to win it all. Didn't you see that they scored 114 points against Prairie View A&M? It's like, yes, they scored 114 points. That is incredible, and I'm not trying to downgrade them for that, but they played at Prairie View A&M. What team is that? Prairie View, the Panthers. The Prairie View A&M Panthers, who shot 17 for 63 on field goals, 6 for 22 on three-pointers, 15 for 17 on free throws, 20 rebounds. As a team, 9 offensive rebounds, 11 defensive rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, 7 turnovers, 16 fouls. As one team, the Gators have seen nothing yet. This is like if the Dodgers played the AAA White Sox. It's not comparable. The Dodgers are going to score 20 runs against the AAA White Sox. Their real goal, Florida's real goal, is they're going to play Iowa here today, and then they'll more than likely win and beat Iowa, but then they're going to have to play Vanderbilt. Nebraska. Florida is going to have to end up playing Nebraska if they win. And Florida is going to, I think, have an easy time against Nebraska. Florida is coming off of a March Madness title, and they are an incredible team. They are, you're lying if you don't say they're an incredible team. But then they are going to have to play Illinois or Houston. And this is where it's going to give them a little bit of trouble, because I think that Houston beats Illinois, and I think that Houston beats Florida in the Elite Eight, and Houston will move on to the Final Four. A lot of people have Florida moving on to the Final Four, and here in Florida, in Florida, there are a lot of people that think Florida makes it all the way and wins the national championship. Not going to happen this year. I think Houston is going to give them a lot of trouble, and I think it hurts Florida a little bit to play Prairie View A&M. Now, I think they got a little bit lucky that they're going to play Nebraska. Nebraska's a good team, but I think Vanderbilt would have given them a tougher time. But you play these easy teams. For the Dodgers, if they played the AAA White Sox and then they move up to the Major League White Sox and then all of a sudden have to play the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Phillies, it's going to be a little bit of trouble. They're not used to it, especially if those big teams like Houston, they had to play Illinois, they had to play Texas A&M, they had to beat Idaho. That's not really a big game, but you know what I mean. It's going to hurt them in the end. Yes, they did great. There's nothing they could have done better, but it's going to hurt them a little bit, and I think Houston is going to give Florida trouble in the Elite Eight. That's just my thoughts. That's just what I think. But here on my not-so-perfect March Madness bracket, it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not perfect anymore. In my Final Four, I have Duke playing Houston, and I have Arizona playing Iowa State, and I'm still standing on that. Everything's still good. Like I said, no loss has affected the next round, so we're still good. all 4 of the teams still in place. Duke just has to be either St. John's or Kansas, and then more than likely Michigan, unless UConn can get in there. I don't know. I feel like UConn's going to lose to Michigan State. I wonder how many people have that. How many people have Michigan State? The Spartans. I don't know. I don't know if I can find it here. But yeah, I'm excited. This is the last few games, the last 8 games of the Sweet 16, and then we got to wait a week. We don't got to wait. We got to wait till Thursday for the Sweet 16 to start. Then you got the Elite 8 on Saturday, Sunday. And then, isn't it... Oh, we have the dates up here. I haven't actually looked at the dates. I know that this week is the first and second rounds. I believe next week, this upcoming week is the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Then the week after is just one day, or the 4th, April 4th. Let me get a calendar up here real quick. Sorry for you guys listening on Spotify and all that good stuff. I know it's pretty boring when I just have to look stuff up all the time. This calendar's full. So you have the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 next weekend. The 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th. And then the Final Four starts next Saturday. And it is that Saturday. Oh, so I won't actually miss any of it. Oh, that works out perfectly. That next Saturday is the Final Four, and then that Monday is the National Championship, where Arizona will end up beating Duke in my perfect, in quotations, March Madness bracket. Exciting. NCAA March Madness tournament is one of the best tournaments in sports. I think the World Baseball Classic's better, and we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic here in a minute. But March Madness just never disappoints. And look at all the green. Look at all the green. You just can't deny all this green. You love to see all the green. And hopefully there's more green coming up here in 2.5 minutes as Miami gets a couple points there. They are down by 6 with 2.5 minutes left. Let's talk about this fight last night. The other night, the Thunder and Wizards had a little bit of an altercation. Anthony Gill dropped a basket, and on the rebound, Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City and Justin Champagnie started shoving each other, and you could kind of see it was kind of nothing, and they kind of made it into something, but they started shoving each other, and then it went into the stands, pretty much. They all backed up into the stands, and it was funny. You could see one of the guys in the stands, just like a spectator, trying to get his phone out and fumbling his phone to get a camera up and stuff like that. But they started shoving, and then AJ Mitchell and Anthony, who dropped the basket, started to get involved, and then there were punches thrown and everything like that. The ref actually did a good job with holding was it Williams back? I forget who the ref was holding back, but I believe he was holding Williams back, and he did a good job on that, on trying to de-escalate the situation. But at the end of it all, the refs had 5 minutes of reviewing the entire breakdown of the altercation, the fight, if you will, and they ended up giving Champagnie and Williams 2 technical fouls, which ejected them, and then Carson Wallace and AJ Mitchell got ejected for escalating. What's the word? Escalating the situation. Which I think when I look back at the video, I think was fair. But the Thunder coach Mark Dagnall said that he watched the video at half and had a couple hours to think about it and talk to the press after. And he said that he disagreed with the refs. He said that him and the refs have been working together, obviously with the NBA and in college and all that stuff for years now, and that they have a good relationship, and that they talked about it, and they just had to end up agreeing to disagree with the situation. At the end of the day, the refs make the final decision. But I get where Dagnall's coming from, because one Wizard guy was ejected and 3 of his OKC guys were ejected. So it kind of sucks for him, but the Wizards ended up winning that game. Or sorry, not the Wizards. Yeah, the Thunder ended up winning the game, so it really doesn't matter. I don't know if any suspensions have come from it yet, potentially, but maybe not. I don't know. That's That's just what I saw. That's just what I saw last night and wanted to talk about. I kind of want to watch the rest of this Miami-Purdue game. So right now, Purdue's up 73-67, and that was the worst shot I've ever seen. Miami has the ball, minute 9 left. Oh, I don't know who number 3 is. They're trying to do something. They're trying to get fouled. Not working. They've had like 3 shots, missed all 3. Houston makes a shot. Purdue up 73-69. 56 seconds left. Purdue's ball. They're just going to hold on to it for a while. Purdue's going to end up winning, which is good. Put it on the bracket. Here's a little something, and this segment's probably going to get cut short by this Purdue game. But why are MLB players getting shorter, you may ask? You've seen guys, Gavin Lux, last year was measured at 6'2", now a staggering 5'11". Bo Naylor last year was shown at 6 foot even, and now he was measured at 5'9". And then you have Red Sox Connor Wong, who last year was measured at 6'1" and is now measured at 5'11". What happened? Are guys lying about their height? What's going on? Nope, it is because of the ABS challenge system. So this year, as you all know, or maybe you don't know, the ABS system is coming to Major League Baseball, which is going to help a lot with the balls and strikes and horrible calls that the umps make every single day. 162 games a year times 15. What's 162 times 15? Yeah. Almost 2,500 games a season. And so with this ABS system, the MLB needs correct measurements for each player's strike zone. So what they did is that the team's medical staff is in charge of measuring all the players, but in the past, they weren't too strict about it. They could measure at any time, they could wear their hat, they could wear their shoes. It just wasn't that strict. It was just a number that was going to go on their bio on MLB.com. Nothing, no harm, no foul. If you want to say you're 7 foot, you're 7 foot. Nobody really cares. But now with this strike zone in place, you have to have correct measurements because where? Oh, I had it here too. I need the exact measurements. ABS measurements. Strike zone. I had it here, and I thought I wrote it down, but I thought it was lower than that. Here we go. So now for players, their vertical height is going to matter in the strike zone. So the vertical part of the zone, the width is still going to be 17 inches, the width of the plate. But the vertical zone is personalized to each hitter, ranging from 27% to 53.5% of their measured height. So almost a quarter of your height to just over half of your height is going to be your strike zone, obviously within the 17 inches of the plate, and they have it at 8.5 inches deep into the plate, but I'm pretty sure it's just like the box of the plate. But so because of that, they need correct measurements, and this is set measurements for their set strike zone. This doesn't account for their stance, which I thought was a little bit interesting, which we'll go into that in a minute. But yeah, MLB is being more strict with their player measurements this year. They're not allowed to wear hats or shoes when being measured. They have to be flat foot, they can't crouch down, and they have to measure between 10 a.m. and noon of the day that they get measured because of spinal something. I don't know what it's called, but apparently you grow and shrink as the day moves on. I think I kind of knew that, but I didn't really know that. So they have to measure between 10 a.m. and 12 a.m., something with the earth, something with your sleep schedule. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. That's just what I was told. And so I'm not saying that the Gavin Lux and Bo Naylor and the Connor Wong were lying about their height. I just don't feel like they took it that seriously. I feel like they just walked into their team's medical staff, stepped on the scale where it measured them. They had their hat and shoes on, then walked out, and I feel like it gave them a couple inches or so. But this doesn't account for the stance. So you're going to see guys in two-strike approach where they're a little bit wider than they would normally be in an at-bat, having a bigger strike zone. And that's a little interesting to me because I don't know what the MLB would do about that unless you have like live cameras measuring every single stance, but then you're going to have guys cheat their stance. I don't know how you would fix it, but I feel like in the two-strike approach, like there's going to be guys with huge boxes and they're not going to think it's balls and they're not going to think it's strikes and they actually are strikes in the ABS system. So I feel like that's going to be a little bit of trouble, but I think overall what the MLB is doing with the ABS is actually incredible, and I think it's going to help the game out a lot. I don't see why they don't do it for every pitch. I feel like they need the technology to be a little bit faster. So like you have, I don't know, the idea that I've always had is like the ball comes in. If it's a strike, the umpire hears a beep in his ear. He calls strike, like immediately. And I feel like in the next few years, we're going to have the technology for that. And if it's a ball, there's nothing. There's always going to be umpires. We don't need umpires making judgmental calls like this that don't have to be judgmental. So yeah, that's why MLB players are getting shorter. 2-1, Purdue ends up moving on, beating Miami. This is when we get the green highlighter out. We got our bracket right here. You love to see green. Where do we have Purdue at? Purdue, Miami. Purdue is moving on to play Texas. If Purdue can't beat Texas, there is something wrong. But let's add another green to this beautiful bracket right here. Congratulations, Purdue. 7th Sweet 16, and I didn't read the rest of that stats or that fact. So we're doing good. We're going back into March Madness here. We're doing good on this bracket. You know, that Vandy and Zaga game, that kind of screwed with me. Texas is screwing with me a little bit. But other than that, we're good. We're good. I'm still solid in this bracket here. Again, like I said, in the first round, by far the best round I've ever made. 28 for 32. You can't ask for much better than that. In the league that I'm in, I was in first at the time. Now I think I'm in third with the Zaga and Vandy losses. Yeah. And like I said, I think Arizona's winning it all. I think this is Arizona's year. I think Florida, it's not that they don't want it, but they're kind of immune to it. Like, you know, like the Dodgers, like I feel like for a three-peat, yes, it would be absolutely amazing to feel a three-peat and I would go nuts. But I feel like White Sox fans kind of want the World Series more. You know what I mean? They don't know what it feels like. But yeah, my entire south side of the bracket was perfect until that Vandy game. Now I have at least one loss. And I have one loss in every other side of the bracket, except for the West. I have 3 losses in the West. I lost the High Point game, the Texas game, both Texas game. Yeah, it's cool. We'll be keeping you updated with this. I think I'm going to film next Saturday for this podcast, and I'll keep you updated on all of that. All right, let's move on. Or where were we? All right, now let's talk about the World Baseball Classic. This year's World Baseball Classic may lead into an MLB midseason tournament, and I hate that idea. I absolutely hate that idea. I think that the World Baseball Classic is perfect just the way it is, except for some insurance issues that there are. But I hate the idea of an MLB midseason tournament. The NBA does it. Not many people like it. I feel like the World Baseball Classic is at the perfect time. You know, the players have already reported to their teams. They've already played a few spring training games, practiced with the boys. Then, in the middle of spring training, they go to their countries. They play for their countries, representing what's on the front of their jersey, where they come from, and a very competitive tournament. And then it finishes just a week before the MLB season. They're all already warmed up, hyped up, competitive for this upcoming MLB season. And I feel like if you just have a 2-week haul in the middle of an MLB season, it will never work. I hate it. I hate the idea of baseball in the Olympics, just because I think we have something great with the World Baseball Classic, and I hate the idea of a mid-season tournament. You can't just have everybody leave their team in the middle of a season to go to their country, play in a tournament where, again, these guys are about to come back to the MLB fighting for a playoff spot. You just can't have that happen and risk that. Teams are not going to like that. And you can't have 2 weeks without guys playing. We get 1 week. We get the All-Star break where there are guys in the Home Run Derby and All-Star game and stuff like that. But that's like 1 week. It's really only like 5 days. But you can't just have people moving across the world in the middle of an MLB season to play for a team where they're going to get injured and hurt like that. At the beginning of the season, like, hey, if somebody gets hurt, like Jose Altuve a few years ago, he was only out for 6 weeks. So it really didn't affect the Astros all that much. It's at the perfect time. It's at literally the perfect time. The Olympics were just over. March Madness hadn't started yet. Football obviously hadn't started yet at the time. I guess still hasn't started. MLB is still in spring training. You just can't ask for a better time than what it was. It was electric. It was full of energy. It was a very competitive tournament. And the next World Baseball Classic will be in either 2029 or 2030. I just hate the idea of a mid-season tournament and feel like if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Like, you saw record numbers in this year's World Baseball Classic. If it's not broke, it's getting better. Don't fix it. Like, you don't need to change it. You don't need to put it in the middle of the season. You don't need baseball in the Olympics. You need the World Baseball Classic. It's a set time for baseball fans to watch their country and root for their country. Again, I love to say it, where rivals turn into teammates, teammates turn into rivals. But it's before anything super competitive in the MLB happens. Because MLB is always going to come first over the World Baseball Classic for every team, every coach, every player. But yeah, it was cool. I hadn't filmed since the World Baseball Classic happened, but congratulations, Venezuela. Sucks to see the U.S. lose once again in such a close game, in such a close tournament. DeRosa says that he wants to come back to manage again. It's not going to happen, dude. You're not a coach. I'm just being straight up front with you. Mark DeRosa is not a coach, not a good coach. Nothing against you. I still like you as a person, as an analyst. You seem to be doing fine. But just don't expect that phone call. I would not keep your hopes up on that phone call. Christopher Sanchez signs a 6-year extension with the Phillies. A great southpaw for the Phillies. No money was announced yet, but apparently it's supposed to be approximately $103 million added on top. He already had some money going into it and stuff like that. But Sanchez went 13-5 with a 2.5 ERA in 32 starts last season, and he struck out 212 batters last season. That is the highest in his 5-year career. He's 30-21 over his 5-year career. He's a good guy to keep in Philly. I think that Philly truly thinks that they have something good with him, and I think he's a good pitcher, and I think it's a good amount of money. I think it's good earned money for Christopher Sanchez. I wanted to talk about something else here on the podcast. I forget what it was. I was going to say something. Midseason tournament, Christopher Sanchez. I don't know. When's the next game start? 2:45, I'm pretty sure. What's that game? Is that the Tech game? I don't know what game's next. What time does Florida and Iowa play tonight? I don't know. All right, on to the next topics. Cam Scatterbo has to... I'm not going to say it like that. Cam Scatterbo apologized for a CTE joke he made on a podcast last week. Last week, he was with a couple buddies filming a little podcast. Cam Scatterbo, if you want to be on this podcast, open invite for you. But yeah, he was asked about CTE and asthma, and he said that it's an excuse. He says that CTE is just an excuse and that asthma is just an excuse. And I feel like Cam Scatterbo is allowed to make jokes about CTE. He hits his head on brick walls for fun. He has CTE, and I feel like he's allowed to make jokes about it. Now, is CTE bad? Does CTE ruin and end lives? Yes, it does. We've seen Aaron Hernandez. I think that's the most extreme version of CTE that you can get to. You've seen guys die way young. You've seen guys like Antonio Brown, who's like murdering people now, and it's a real problem. CTE is a real problem. Yes, it is, and but I feel like Cam Scatterbo is allowed to make a joke like this. Like, it's just an excuse. Like, it's Cam Scatterbo, guys. Like, we can't take the guy seriously. And if you do take him seriously, I hate to break it to you, you're a little soft. I get it. CTE, very bad. Ruins lives. I get it. It was a joke said on podcast. I feel like we're being a little soft here. And he said the same thing about asthma, and his mom quickly chimed in, which I thought was funny. Let me move to the tab. Oh, I did have it open. I didn't need to open that tab for the ABS thing. Nope. Right here. So, Cam Scatabo apologized on Twitter saying, I recently did an interview and had a lapse in judgment, which resulted in me making a tasteless joke about CTE and asthma. It was never my intention to downplay the seriousness of head injuries or asthma. I sincerely apologize to anyone that was offended by my remarks, and I assure you that I'll be more mindful and respectful going forward. Much love. All right, so he said that apology, which whatever, everybody accepts the apology, no harm, no foul, nothing like that. His mom, which I thought was a little bit ironic, quoted on that tweet, said, if only people knew how many times Cam had to run and get mom's inhaler, they'd realize the sarcasm. You'll never make everyone happy, and you'll never say all the right things, and people are bound to spin something sooner or later in a direction it was never intended to go. So Cam Scatabo has CTE. His mom has asthma. I don't think there was any ill feeling here. I think it was just on a podcast, and I think that people are over analyzing the whole situation. I feel like it's not that big of a deal for what people are making it. All right, let's move on to the top 5 March Madness upsets. So obviously with March Madness, we've had a few upsets just this tournament. The High Point game, that's a pretty big upset. What other upset did you have? No other major Texas was a major upset. And then, other than that, it was just the 8-9 seeds that lost. Nebraska beating Vandy, that's not an upset. And then, I keep forgetting that I picked some upsets. There's been a couple upsets so far this tournament, but let's go over the most extreme ones. At number 5, you have St. Peter's beating Kentucky. This was just in 2022. The 15-seed Cinderella of St. Peter's ended up beating the Blue Blood. The Wildcats ended up beating the Wildcats in overtime, 85-79. One of the biggest upsets in March Madness history. At number 4, this was all the way back in 1985. Georgetown was heavily favored to beat Villanova, but Villanova ended up winning. They were the 8th seed. They shot 78.6% to beat Georgetown, who were heavily favored at the time and top ranked in the title game. It's crazy. Villanova ended up winning that national championship as an 8th seed. That's like, it's not a Cinderella, but that team was. That game, I guess, was something else. Obviously, not alive for that game, and never watched that game. But from the stats and what I've seen, crazy game. At number 3, making podium, NC State ended up beating Houston in 1983. It was a buzzer beater in the championship game that upsets Houston. Houston was favored to win that game by quite a bit. NC State ended up winning. At number 2, just in 2023, FDU ended up beating Purdue. FDU was the shortest team in D1 basketball, and they were the second 16 seed to beat a number 1 seed. They ended up winning 63-58. Again, this was just a few years ago in 2023, but the first time that a number 16 seed ended up beating a number 1 seed was in 2018 when UMBC ended up beating Virginia 74-54. Wasn't even close. That makes it the ultimate March Madness upset. All right, that is going to do it for the 41st episode of that. Not the 41st. That is going to do it for the 141st episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Thank you all for taking your time to listen to me talk about sports. I hope you got to learn some stuff. I hope you listen to more podcasts in the future. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube for all the visuals, your Amazon Alexa. Make sure to follow all of our short form content and graphics on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you listen to us, anywhere you can find us, you can find us. Go to shop@HatTrickSports.com, get the best merch around. Go Arizona. Come back next week to listen to episode 142. We will see you then.